Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
And welcome back to the Weird Science Comics YouTube channel, where I'm going to go through the books that came out from DC today as I record the Future State books in a more quick fashion, non-spoiler fashion. I was thinking that maybe on the day that the books come out, people would rather kind of get generalized ideas of what I think about the books themselves, maybe get the idea, oh, Jim likes this, Jim likes that, before you go off to the comic store and buy those. I'm also going to do this for the Marvel books every Wednesday. And then as the week goes on, me and Eric will show up and do more in-depth individual reviews of most, if not all, of the books. And let me know if this is something that you would like to see more of, if you're digging it, whatnot, as we go through these. And we're going to start with Future State Harley Quinn number 2. And it's written by Stephanie Phillips and art by Simone DeMaio. I almost had a brain fart there. And what we get here is a continuation. You ended up having the first issue of Future State Harley Quinn, Stephanie Phillips using the psychological background, the psychiatrist deal of Harley, to help Jonathan Crane, not Scarecrow at this point, just Jonathan Crane, because of the no masks policy. And it seems a little deeper into that for Jonathan Crane himself, but using that to help go solve crimes, making up rhymes. I said it was more of a kind of a Silence of the Lambs meets Suicide Squad. Harley's in jail. She has to help out Crane, but using her psychological background to track down and incarcerate Professor Pig, Firefly, with the end game of going after and taking down Black Mask. And Black Mask seems like a big deal in this Future State thing. And so when you go in, you're like, okay, this issue, it's going to be cool. We're going to go. And it seems as what Stephanie Phillips is doing is showing you that she can do all the types of Harley. Because if you're a Harley fan, which I am, you know that each book's a crapshoot of what Harley you're going to get. Now, it's usually a mixture, but sometimes you get heavy psychiatrist Harley, like something in the Criminal Sanity Black Label book. Or you end up getting real jokey Harley, the fourth wall breaking jokey Harley that does the poop jokes and things, like in her solo series, say, by Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti. But then you also get action Harley, that kind of joke, but that's like a Suicide Squad Harley. You end up having Harley be a lot of different things. And I think Stephanie Phillips is kind of trying to show that she can do each one. The problem is, I really liked that first issue because it was that intelligent Harley using her psychology backgrounds to help out and really showing she was the smartest one in the room. This kind of dials back into the jokey Harley a little more, while the whole deal is, hey, Crane, why don't you become the Scarecrow? We can get the Black Mask. And while I thought that that was a good setup in the first issue, this kind of just gets to it. It feels like there's a middle issue missing. And I think a lot of these 2-issue books do need that middle setup to get going into this finale. And so by the end, I was a little down on this. The art looks great. I'm a Simone DeMaio fan, so the art looks great. It gets a little confusing in some of the action, I will admit, but I do like it. Colors pop, all that. But the story itself kind of is like a rush to an end, and now feels really like this was Stephanie Phillips kind of giving you a resume of, this is the type of Harleys I can do, come back in March when I do the solo book. And I'm looking forward to the solo book. I think that she has won me over enough that I think that she'll do something really good with Harley in the solo deal. The only problem is it is Riley Rossmo art, which I do not like. So we'll see. But if you like the first issue of this, I'd say pick it up. If you didn't, then I don't know why you would anyway. This isn't going to change your mind at all. But the next one is pretty much the most controversial book so far in Future State. It's the Future State, The Flash number 2, written by Brandon Vitti and art by Brandon Peterson. The art's great. The art looks great. If you hated the first issue because Wally was murdering, Wally being taken over by famine from the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and having the Flash family, especially Barry, using the old tech from all the villains, specifically the rogues, if you didn't like it, you're not going to like this. In fact, you'll probably hate this even more. I'll give you a little spoiler. There is no happy ending really here. There just isn't, But with that, I'll even give that again. If you like the first issue, where a couple people, my man Eric Shea did, you'll like this. It ends in a non-happy deal, but this Future State is a lot darker than I thought it was going to be. people upset about Wally, I understand. My favorite character is Nightwing. I went through the Rick Grace nonsense. And so I understand bringing back Wally at Rebirth. Oh my God, he's back. Oh no, he's a murderer in Heroes in Crisis. Oh no, now he's a murderer again. It sucks. But in a backdoor way to try to convince you it's not as bad, this won't. But Wally, a lot of people and fans will say he's the best Flash. Well, when you end up having, say, a reverse Flash where he's whispering, where they, retroactively said that he was whispering in Wally's ear during the whole Heroes in Crisis, right? Then you have this where Famine takes over Wally. They are using the best Flash. You're not going to have Famine show up in this future and say, okay, Wally's the best, but I'm going to use Barry. Oh, Wally's the greatest, I'll take Bart. You're not going to get that. So you're getting the idea that it's kind of a backdoor compliment with all of this going on that, yeah, even the bad guys who want to take over Flash, they know Wally's the best. But again, if you didn't like that first one, you're going to hate this. I would say just forget that these Flash books even happen if you're mad about Wally. Next one is Superman of Metropolis #2, and that is written by Sean Lewis with art by John Timms for the main story. You end up having a backup Mr. Miracle story continuing with Brandon Easton writing and Valentin Delandro on art, and then you have a second backup story with The Guardian that's again written by Sean Lewis but with art by Cully Hamner. I think that the backups are not worth anything here. They're really not good. You end up having the Mr. Miracle Shiloh Norman deal even feel weird because we keep jumping back and forth because we had a bit of that in the Superman Worlds of War there. And then this takes after this and that. It's getting a bit confusing with the timing. Even with that, it's just not that great a story. The Guardian story's okay. It's just not anything to really write home about. It's not going to be anything that I'm going to tell you, well, if you don't like the others, you should buy it just for that Guardian story. Now, the main story with John being the Superman of Metropolis, I didn't like the first issue. I thought it made John look like a complete and utter moron. He ends up bottling up Metropolis in a way that even Kara at the point says, well, what are the people going to do? They're not going to like this. Ooh, didn't think of that. Then he leaves that bottled city of Metropolis with Brain Cells. Now, Brain Cells, the villain that he doesn't realize is the villain, is made from Brainiac. He has now put a bottled city of Metropolis pretty much in the care, at least in the vicinity of Brain Cells, who was a Brainiac deal to go fight Kara for no reason. And then at the end of last issue, you end up having Brain Cells like smell you later, blast off with the bottled city, John and Kara giving chase. And in this issue, you just have that. You end up having John confront Brain Cells. He has a cool little distraction to give John, but it doesn't really end up playing out great. And really this whole issue in my mind, again, maybe this needed a second part. And then this being the third. Maybe it needed a middle issue, but I actually would have liked to have known a little more of how John was taking being Superman before this, because I saw a lot of people saying, well, John's only been on the job for a little. He's been there for years. And also, oh, John, he's a hothead here. And we never really got, I wanted to see more of what led to that, really, to show why he would do what he did in the first issue. This issue, though, is better. He's better. He's doing things that you can say, all right, now he's back. But I see a lot of reviews. I'm not going to give this props because it fixes the nonsense of the first issue. I'm not going to go, and this is what happens all the time, because when you end up even movies or video games, that happens a lot. You have a first game come out, and people are like, my God, this is a classic, 10 out of 10. Then the second one comes out, and the same people go, man, that first one wasn't great, but this fixes a lot of the problems. I'm like, this is what I see. A lot of people who love this first issue of this are now saying this one's great because it fixes the problem of the last. I don't get it. I don't understand. But the art throughout is pretty good. The art in the main, I love John Timms. So the art in the main story is pretty good. It's just, I needed more of the substance around just the spectacle of John, go Bottle City, try to fix it. That's really all we get by the end. I would pass on this myself. I know, you have your own deal and own opinions. I'd like to hear as well. The next issue is good. It's Future State Swamp Thing #2, written by Ram V, art by Mike Perkins. Mike Perkins' art fits this great. Ram V is telling an epic story that people look at as being intelligent, like I said, epic, a classic even. To me, though, not being a Swamp Thing fan, and that's the little caveat here, and also somebody who gets bored easily. I have a very bad attention span. These Swamp Thing issues bored me. The idea of going back to see the anatomy of what Swamp Thing is making these doppelganger people, and then at the end here, seeing how things progress, seeing what led to this whole disaster of a world that they're living in is intriguing. It is cool. I'll admit that. But I got bored myself. And if you are somebody who, well, I'm not really a Swamp Thing, fan. I don't know that you're going to like this as much as Swamp Thing fans, or at least Dark Universe fans. I really don't like that dark side of the universe at DC myself. So you got to take that into account. Now, one of the things, though, is I'm waiting to have a fun Swamp Thing book. And I mentioned this on our podcast. It really feels like everybody who writes Swamp Thing is chasing the shadow of Alan Moore. The only one who kind of didn't do that was Charles Soule in the New 52. And I actually liked that. He got a little wonky at the end and then quit. But still, I want a fun Swamp Thing book so I can kind of ease into the character. Every time everybody has to be overly intelligent, almost pretentious at points with this. And even with that, when you have Ram V going through this process of how Swamp Thing made these other swampy creatures, you even get almost like an anatomy lesson deal of Alan Moore, which I have read a bunch of Alan Moore Swamp Things. I know when I'm reading something, if something is good, if something is great, but that doesn't necessarily mean I like it because I get bored. And that's where I stand kind of with this. It's a weird deal. I think you should pick it up. And I think you should read both issues. But me personally, I got bored. But still, there's my recommendation. Take it for what you will. We're going to go to the next one, which is Future State, the Next Batman, number 3. We have the penultimate issue of this and the main story, The Next Batman, written by John Ridley with art by Laura Braga. I like it, but I like it for more than The Next Batman. And in fact, Jace/Tim/Jace being the next Batman, when we get scenes with just Batman, I didn't really like them as much because he's just Batman. You don't really get much of a difference. He's lower tech, but it's still not like I sit there and go, oh my God, that's classic Jace Batman. That's classic Next Batman. The Batman stuff seems to just be kind of on the fringe to get to what I think is John Ridley stuff that he's more into is the Fox family dynamics. Also Chubb, the Detective Chubb, who now is going to be working with the next Batman, and just the idea of an oppressed city that's trying to deal with the magistrate and stuff like that. But when we actually get to, oh, there's Jason the suit, oh, there he goes. I'm not getting anything different or new or unique from the next Batman. But this story being set up for the big finale, and I saw a lot of reviewers down on this because of the setup. I like the setup, and I love the stuff with the Fox family. I'm a huge Luke Fox fan. I was a huge Batwing fan, but I'm also a huge, huge fan of his younger sister, Tiffany, who I wish that John Ridley would point out. She is way smarter than anybody in that family. She is the smartest of the smart. And in this, she even questions her mom. Why are you dealing with the magistrate? Why are you helping out Nakano? All of that stuff, leading to them and Tiffany thinking that, Luke, you're Batman, aren't you? Tell me, because you didn't tell us about Batwing. And he's like, no, it's not me. But whoever it is, they're trying to help. And you get the setup where you know that Luke will eventually, probably next issue, because we have that issue, the finale, he's going to find out that his brother, Tim/Jace, I still want to give the slash there, is the Batman. And he doesn't like his brother. But in this here, he says, whoever's doing this Batman stuff is a good guy. And it's going to be that kind of conflicting emotions when we do find out. Now, there are two backups in this. You have the Outsiders backup that's written by Brandon Thomas with art by Sumit Kumar. And if you are a Justice League Dark Ram V fan, Sumit Kumar does a lot of stuff with him. So the art is really good. I like Sumit Kumar's art. Also, with this Outsiders book, if you read Brian Hill's Batman and the Outsiders series that was canceled a little bit ago, this is directly for you. You end up continuing with Signal, Duke Thomas, Katana, and this transformed Black Lightning who is just like living lightning. And in this backup, you kind of progress that. You get to an ending that isn't quite an ending, and it does make me want more. I actually would like to see this outsider story continue because I am intrigued, and I do like the way that Brandon Thomas is writing the characters. It's a hard sell. Katana, a weird-looking lightning, Black Lightning, and Duke Thomas, but I think that I would like this to continue, and I do think that at points it will continue in that Batman anthology series. So I hope that that is the case that I remember. And then you get a final backup, the Astrid Arkham Knight story by Paul Jenkins, Jack Herbert. If you like the first one, I think you'll like this as well. I didn't really dig the first one. I'm not a real big fan of Astrid Arkham and the Arkham Knight, but it's kind of cool to see her gather up these villains, get them together because they do love her, and she did have the compassion for them as she grew up in Arkham, and they looked after her. Even a lot of villains were involved, doing the birthing of her. So I like that progression into this future. I just don't really love the character, but we're going to go to the last issue, and it's my book of the week, Future State Wonder Woman #2, written by Joelle Jones, art by Joelle Jones, and Getting My Heart to Love Laura Fleur by Joelle Jones. Right? That's what she does. Because these two issues, and she's the breakout star of Future State. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And it's weird because it's one of those where I want more story from these two issues from Joelle Jones, but yet she gives us all Laura Fleur, and it works out for the better. This actual story of Yara figuring out how to go down the hell, going after to find her Amazonian sister that ended up dying, and she wants to bring her back. It's good enough, but it's more of just the vehicle to give you Yara Fleur, and I'm happy with that. I'm good with that because Yara is so great. And in this, you get more of a connection to the Themyscira deal. I actually thought that what we were getting here with Yara was a different sect, a branching off of the Amazons having in the rainforest, and I really wanted to see more Brazilian gods than actually the regular pantheon, but you kind of get a mixture of all that, which I think we'll continue with when we get back to the regular books. But when we get back to the regular books, I definitely want more Yara. I need more Yara. I want more Yara. And so by the end of this, I think that Joelle Jones does a really good deal of giving you enough and giving you more character than story, really, to make you just, I need that character. I need more. And I definitely want more. And I suggest getting this. If you didn't get the first issue, I suggest getting that as well as you pick up your books. But I'd love to hear what everybody thinks as they get the books, as they end up reading them. You disagree with me, agree with me, all of that stuff. That's fine. That's what all of this is about. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this. I'll try to make it a little quicker the next time. I got motor mouth. But I hope I didn't spoil anything. I'm not used to doing anything with not spoilers either. That kind of threw me off as well. But thanks, everybody. I hope you liked this. I hope that you ended up liking it enough to subscribe to the channel. Like the video. Also go and look at our notes to see all different sort of things that we do at Weird Science. We have podcasts, both Marvel, DC. We have a Patreon where you can go and get way more stuff. We have done the Patreon for a couple of years now, and we have over 1,600 episodes of tons of shows. We have weekly shows like a manga show that I do every week with my man Luke Hollywood. We have other shows, a Walking Dead comic show, a bunch of things, indie comics, all that nonsense. But thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you later.